to get in some good trouble, we're going to have a meeting today, right here. Oh, one more. Okay. Kathy says one more. All right, one more. All right, so we shall not be moved. Now, not as many people know this one anymore. Hopefully some of you do. So this is how this goes. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by water. We shall not be moved. Let's try that again, everybody. We shall not be moved. With that. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We are young and old together, and we shall not be moved. We are young and old together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We are women and men together, we shall not be moved. We are women and men together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Now we are all cultures together, and we shall not be moved. We are all cultures together, and we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We are gay and straight together. We shall not be moved. We are gay and straight together. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We are fighting for our children. We shall not be moved. We are fighting for our children, and we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We are standing up for justice. We shall not be moved. We are standing up for justice, and we shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Everybody, we are singing here together. We shall not be moved. We are singing here together. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. One more time. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for joining in with a little invigorating and encouraging music. I hope we all found a place to park that feels okay, and I hope you're not too hot with your walk getting here. So we're going to start this morning with the singing of the national anthem, and I'd like to invite Red Fidiasi to come up and lead us in that. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I don't think I've ever wanted to cry so much singing the national anthem. So I hope I can compose myself here. Thank you all so much for being here and being so concerned about our community that you would spend some time on your Saturday with us to hopefully come together and have some ideas of how we can move forward and protect the democracy that we have, not only in Kings County, but in these United States of America. There's much conversation about the Constitution lately. We've all heard we're in a constitutional crisis, so I'm not going to read the Constitution, but I am going to read the preamble so that we can just be mindful of what our founding fathers had as they created this document that has designed the structure of our country. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's kind of the basis of what we're going to be talking about here and how it relates to us. So we have an esteemed panel of guests that are our speakers here today. So if we can have Dr. Daniel O'Connell, Dr. Randy Villegas, Carla Orozco, and Lori Pisanti come up to the stage. Where do you want to go?
Good morning. I'm Kathy Jorgensen. I'm the chair of the Democratic Central Committee in Kings County. This is Claire Fidialsi. She's our vice chair. This is not a Democratic event. We're not trying to, well, we'd love to recruit you if you'd like to help. But we want everyone welcome. We want everyone here coming together. That's what has to happen in our country. We have to start coming together, and we have to realize how important this country is, how we have functioned so well for hundreds of years, but we're in trouble. And it's going to take all of us, to work. As we leave today, we're going to have tables out there if you'd like to sign up for a Democratic Club in Tulare or Kings County. If you'd like more information, we've got a list of activities. And if you'd like to submit a question, a lot of you submitted questions already, but this table right here up in front, Norberto and Howie, they're going to sit here, and if you'd like a question, like to do a question, ask them for a form, fill it out, and we'll try to get as many questions answered as possible. And so, we're going to start with Dr. Dan O'Connell. Dan is the executive director of the Central Valley Partnership, a regional progressive network spanning the San Joaquin Valley of California. By the way, they meet every third Tuesday at Fresno City College in the evening, and it's a wonderful group. He has a Master's of Science in International Agricultural Development from the University of California at Davis, a doctoral degree in Adult and Extension Education from Cornell University. His scholarship centers on community development, critical, historical, and socio-economical analysis of rural regions, and the role of scholars working as change agents in confronting unjust institutional structures and in support of marginalized communities. Previously, he worked as the first farmland conservation director of the southern San Joaquin Valley with Sierra Riverlands Trust. As San Joaquin Valley Program Manager with American Farmland Trust and co-director of Food Commons Fresno. He is a co-author of In the Struggle, Scholars and the Fight Against Industrial Agribusiness in California, recently published in 2021 by New Village Press. His work is dedicated to achieving social, racial, environmental, and economic justice in California. And by the way, he'll have books back there if you're interested at the end. Dr. O'Connell.
Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you, Kathy. What an honor it is to be here today. It's the beginning of a long... Can I use yours? It's the beginning of a few years of absolutely intense work that we have before us. I wanted to start off by mentioning if there's Republicans or independents in the audience, you're welcome here. It is really, really important, and it's been something to see when Liz Cheney or there's been people that I might not agree with them on maybe a majority of policy issues, and yet you saw the character of their values and morality step forward in really courageous ways. They're feeling it first. We will all end up feeling it. And we're watching family members and leaders that we thought were strong crater. This is going to be a stress test for our democracy, but it'll be a stress test for our networks, a stress test for us as individuals and our own integrity. My wife always says for me to speak as a scholar. I was an activist for years when I was young. I wrote a book, and I wanted to speak about it today because it sets a context for what's happening in our country. That book it defines the power structure of the San Joaquin Valley, of a geography. I'll tell a story. The books arrive, it's the culmination of a lot of years, and being a scholar, you're squirreled away by yourself. It's a very isolating endeavor. You're in conversation with history, though, and literatures, but you're doing it on your own. It's a whole different level of being a warrior. The books arrive, and I live in the inner city of the city of Fresno, and my next door neighbor, who is a forklift driver, his wife is an in-home healthcare provider. They see me lugging up the books. I'm really happy because it's the physical representation of a lot of years. I'm ecstatic. They might see me being happy, a big smile. I try to smile more, but I don't smile very often, so it's obviously a good day. And she asked me, what is it? And I said, it's my book. And she says, what's it about? Now, I already know, even given my bio, that there's a lot of words in there that are too big. And it's on me to translate what this book was about to her. And so I ask her a question back. I say, why are poor people poor? She pauses. Her answer? Drugs. Drugs are the reason poor people are poor. And I looked at her and I said, I think drugs are probably a symptom of the cause of poverty. And I told her, my book will tell you to a certain extent why poor people are poor. I left it on her whether she wanted. I gave her a free copy, and I think her husband read it. The book is based off of a dissertation from Cornell University. I didn't want to trust the University of California with the story because a few decades earlier, some PhDs didn't make it through because they analyzed the problems in the book. The University of California never permitted the academic discipline of rural sociology to be at any of their universities, and they never hired a rural sociologist for decades. They never wanted to permit the question of their unique system of agribusiness that had started here to be academically looked at. The Farm Bureau was housed at UC Berkeley for 30 years before it started. Great subsidies there. So the book maps a geography through stories so that it can be understood and engaged and transformed. I was going to read from it, but I don't think I have time. But I wanted to talk about the Arvin and Dinuba study, and I was going to read to you some of the findings, but I'll make a synopsis. The dams and canals were going to be constructed in the San Joaquin Valley. They were going to bring water to an arid region that has fantastic soils and a Mediterranean climate. The value of the land when you bring water, and you need labor too, but we're going to talk about water for now, to a very fertile region, the value of that land will jump. And the western United States was arid. So the US government in 1902, when Republicans were progressive, this is passed by Republicans, the law, the 1902 Reclamation Law, authorized the construction of these projects, but they didn't want to subsidize the already rich. So embedded in the law was a stipulation. We're going to build dams across the western United States, and including the San Joaquin Valley, potentially. You need to be a farm of 160 acres or less. You need to live on the farm. And after 10 years, if you had more than 160 acres, you had to sell all land in excess at pre-water prices. The law was actually a land reform. That law was passed in 1902. There's a depression and a war that come, and they're going to build these dams in the 1940s. And the US government wanted to ask itself, should the law apply to a region, the San Joaquin Valley, that already had extreme unequal land ownership? A research was done comparing the city of Arvin, the unincorporated town of Arvin at the time, to Dinuba. Arvin was surrounded by a mega farm, Dinuba by small farms. what I was going to read to you was the congressional testimony by Walter Goldschmidt in 1972 to the U.S. Senate, but it's going to be too much. I'm going to synopsize what he found. The retail businesses were twice as many in Dinuba than Arvin. The amount of economic activity in the town surrounded by small farms was twice that of the small farm. There was more sidewalks, there was more doctors, there was more newspapers. By every metric, the schools, there was 4 elementary schools, 1 high school in Dinuba, 1 school in Arvin. Arvin, the services are provided by the county, it's an unincorporated area, Dinuba is incorporated. This book it's this thick, and it goes into the minutiae of details. Walter Goldschmidt also did his doctoral dissertation at Berkeley on the city of Wasco before that, so he knew the valley. Dinuba was better than Arvin. A little sub-story too, by the way. Paul Taylor, an advisor to Goldschmidt, had recommended they use Firebach or Mendota, but they thought that the findings would be so extreme they wouldn't be believable, so they chose Arvin. The west and east side of the valley is different, as people from Hanford know. The reaction of the government is telling. The research findings that were paid for by the government itself were immediately censored, and a follow-up study that was going to use statistics was suppressed. The statistical retest of the Goldschmidt hypothesis wasn't done for another 30 years when it was done at UC Davis, and it's in this book as well. So I'll close quickly here. We have an economy that is increasingly consolidating and monopolized. So you think of why downtown Hanford or Blackstone or downtown any small town or downtown city of Fresno. I drive around Belmont Avenue, it just breaks my heart. I drive down Fulton in Fresno, breaks my heart. Just absolute crushing divestment. The lesson is that you need a diversified economy if you're going to have a democracy. And if you don't have capital flowing within your communities repeatedly before it's jettisoned out to New York or China in the frame of capital or almonds, not only will your economic life crater, your civic life. The number of PTAs, the number of civic institutions in Dinuba were way more than Arvin. Arvin was primarily migrant farm workers. Dinuba had small businesses, unionized work. So the measure of a democracy, you can see it actually on your geography. Are you walking over homeless people? Do you have health care? Are people hungry? The paradox of the most productive food-producing region in the history of the world, which also houses the hungriest people, with Bakersfield #1 and Fresno #5, the hungriest people in the United States are in the same region that there's more food being produced than ever in the history of the world. That's a moral paradox that we should solve. We should never tolerate it. It's beyond politics. And if there is people that differ with me in this, I spent 20 years to write it, but the book is actually in the narrative voice of scholars who took 100 years. But you don't even have to read the research, you witness it every day. This election is what happens when you allow a few people to own the vast majority of wealth in the country. The democracy craters. And now we're seeing places like the Midwest. Wisconsin used to be the socialists. Yeah. South Dakota elected socialists in the past. That's because there was a bunch of small farmers that were fighting for their rights. Democracy necessitates an equitable economy, and it translates into our civil society. It's a fight now for our democracy. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. O'Connor. So next I'd like to introduce Lori Basanti. Lori holds a Juris Doctorate from UC Hastings College of Law and a BA cum laude from Seattle University. A teacher at heart, Lori started her career as a sixth grade newcomer teacher in Delano, California, then worked in a variety of public interest contexts, including San Francisco District Attorney, Kern Public Defender, public employee unions, legal aid, and as a consultant on voting rights, redistricting, police accountability, and climate and environmental justice. Lori was the Director of Civic Engagement and Government Relations for the Dolores Huerta Foundation and is currently a member of the Southern Poverty Law Center Expert Cohort for Race and Redistricting. Lori currently works as the first ever director of the Kern Cahuilla chapter of the Sierra Club, leading the revitalization of outings programs and managing 12 public interest lawsuits and other advocacy efforts in Kern, Kings, and Tulare counties. Please welcome Lori Basanti.
I am so glad to be here today. Hanford was the first place I lived when my mom was freshly divorced and we moved up from LA. And I went to Roosevelt Elementary and I went to Monroe Elementary before she remarried an Amtrak conductor. And we moved to Bakersfield because it was cheaper than Oakland. So. My brother also has been stationed at Lemoore NAS twice. And so Kings County has a special place in my heart for sure, but I have been living in Bakersfield for the last, 20 years now, actually. But, it wasn't until, within the last 4 or 5 years that I started to piece together some of those experiences that I had here in the Southern Central Valley vis-a-vis environmental and climate justice. I was a sixth grade newcomer teacher in Delano. That was my first real job. It had benefits, right? That was fantastic. I got my start cleaning houses in high school, so it was a big jump up for me. And within the 2 years that I taught at Almond Middle School on the west side of Delano, within the next 10 years following, my principal died of cancer. My carpool buddy math teacher was in remission from colon cancer. My carpool special ed teacher was in remission from colon cancer. Our campus supervisor, who worked there when I was there for those 2 little years, died of cancer at the age of 35. Another math teacher with a family of 5 kids died of cancer, 33 years old. And an 8th grader died of cancer after having his arms amputated because of bone cancer. I don't usually talk about that. We have suffered pretty substantially here in the Central Valley from environmental degradation. And while many folks can feel that and understand that our air quality is bad and our water is bad, it is sometimes challenging to make the jump to understanding why climate change is something we should be focusing our energies on. So I started getting asked about 6 years ago, well, less than that, 5 years ago now, to start evaluating on behalf of the Dolores Huerta Foundation these many project proposals for climate solutions that we were being asked to support and send in letters of support. I would say I evaluated about 30 projects and only recommended supporting 1. Only 1. Because exactly what Dan was talking about, this 50, 60, 70 years of neoliberal economic policy and geopolitical system that we've been living in has led to a vast inequity and wealth distribution. And indeed, the corporations that are operating in the Central Valley and beyond, they are the wealthiest, most wealth-producing entities in human history, but they have also completely obliterated our ability to live on the planet. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, try Googling climate change information. And depending on what zip code you're in, you might see a bunch of ads from Chevron first, like I did when I first started Googling these things. Or you might find some sort of, PR campaign for clean energy campaigns, which, by the way, there's a big fight in Washington, D.C. right now related to whether or not tax credits are going to continue under the Inflation Reduction Act and under the Infrastructure Act. Make no mistake about it, if you are already skeptical and questioning a lot of those climate technologies that are being promoted by polluters, question everything that you see about it. And it's always about the money, right? You can always go back to the money. When we are talking about carbon capture and sequestration, when we're talking about direct air capture, when we're talking about these kinds of really fancy sounding technologies, keep asking questions about them, because I couldn't figure out for the longest time, okay, what is really happening here and how are they benefiting from it? And the answer to those two questions is, it's essentially a sewage system for the oil industry and for other polluting industries, right? And even my brother, the pilot I just mentioned, who was stationed at Lemoore, by no stretch of the imagination, a progressive thinker. He's very, very conservative. Even he, when he lived in the Gulf region of Texas, said, this is a sewage system for the oil industry, and I don't want to live anywhere near that. Even my brother, right? The second question, where's the money coming from? Guess what? It's coming from everybody in this room and everybody else who's paying taxes in the United States. These folks are projected to make $3 trillion in tax credits for every ton of carbon dioxide that they quote unquote sequester under the ground, which is, it's very, very questionable if that's actually going to happen, right? The ground under our feet ain't as stable as we'd like to think it is. We have earthquakes. Things are moving all the time. We have subsidence, and everybody here in Kings County knows that. They stand to make a ton of money in taxpayer dollars. It is the only reason why it is economically viable, because they have scammed their way into getting Joe Manchin to put it in the Inflation Reduction Act. I'm going to pause there and just kind of let that sink in. They have known for 50 years that this technology doesn't work. It's why they stopped doing it. The only reason why they started doing it again is because they were getting pressure from people to clean up their act, to recognize that, guess what? When we take a plate of glass and we point it at the sun, I can run my air conditioning unit, I can run my television, I can have my internet. That is the most, think about that. That is the most democratic source of energy on the planet. I can point a piece of glass at the sun and make my own energy. It is a revolutionary development. And it's cheap now, too. I feel like we have to kind of orient our mentality to the thought of, it's the Costco of energy. You can go there, get it in bulk, and it's cheap, and everybody can have it, right? This is the future. It's why I started getting involved in the environment. You heard I wear a lot of other hats, so I'm really looking forward to the questions that folks have about things. But I'll just wrap up my initial comments by saying that we have to acknowledge reality. There are a lot of folks out there in our information ecosystems that want to tell us that things that we're seeing, we're not seeing. Each and every one of us can say, the emperor has no clothes. I can see the dude is naked. He's walking down the street. We don't have to be like everybody else sitting there saying, oh, what a fine outfit the person has on. No, we can call reality as we see it from where we sit, where we're living, who we're around, and we can support each other to accept reality. Because guess what? Things were not perfect before, right? We knew we had a lot of work to do. The dark money that had metastasized within our political system was already making things very difficult. And as a former public defender, former legal aid attorney, I will tell you, I have seen the absolute degradation of at least 20, and in the Central Valley, a lot higher percentage, population of our communities, that we have basically said, it's okay that we sacrifice you so that I can have what I have, by ignoring them. And that is a result of the systems that we have supported or not fought. We can be better if we acknowledge the ways in which we have always needed to do better. And we can do better by coming to things like this, taking action, showing up. And I have a table back there, and I want to just point out real quickly, I am starting an outings program. Some people are sick of talking about stuff that depresses them. Hang out with me, and you're probably gonna have that moment. I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's why I'm doing this. Because I need to get outside, I need to have the healing power of nature, and I need to turn my brain off and realize that there are good things in the world right here in our own backyards that we can celebrate. And I've applied for a grant for the National Club Sierra, national folks to come here and teach people how to do outings and how to bring other people along with them. So feel free to sign up with me and take a look at the other stuff and take a sticker. I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions and to engaging in thought partnership.
Okay, now I've got Carla Roscoe. She grew up in Hanford, attended Lee Richmond, Western Christian, Hanford High School, and UC Berkeley. She earned her teaching credential at CSU Sacramento. She's taught migrant, preschool through adult school, but her full-time teaching position for the last 31 years has been middle school math and science. She's been an active member of California Teachers Association and a leader at local, region, and state levels. Carla.
Good morning. I was honored to invite to speak to you. There are a lot of, I got into education because I wanted to come back to my community. I was an athlete and I wanted to coach. I did that for almost 25 years, even was the athletic director for my little rural school district. I teach Naval Air Station Lemoore, but I did start at Hanford L, and things started to change there when I was there. And they wanted me to teach math and science, but they really didn't want me to teach science and didn't give me a budget. So I went to another school, and I loved teaching there, self-contained 6th grade. But they wanted to tell me what to teach every minute of the day. And I was not welcome back to teach there. It had nothing to do with how well my kids did. It had nothing to do with how happy they were, how engaged they were. It had to do that I wasn't sheep. And I'm a professional. I know my job. So I was lucky to go to a district that has allowed me to grow. I'm a pain in the butt, but they see that I need more. I've been encouraged. I spent summers for the first 25 years until I had to caregive for my parents, going to institutes. I am retiring this year, and it's only because my health is not allowing me to go on. But I want to talk about public education. It's being attacked it's always been under attack. It's an imperfect system. It's being run by people making decisions who are not in the classroom. And until that changes, it's going to be an imperfect system. It's being attacked with the intention of privatizing it so corporations can take over and make a profit. That's not public education. There are groups who want to eliminate separation of church and state. And now the executive branches plan to eliminate the Department of Education. So we're worried about what's going to happen with special ed, where it's never been fully funded, but most of the funding comes from the federal government. The college loan program, civil rights protections for students, and many more. The states set the curriculum. The states fund most of the public schools. I'm on the base. We stand to lose the most federal funding. We have 2 schools on the Navy base and 1 school on the Rancheria. So with 3 federally kind of land schools, we are a California public school with a high percentage of federal funding. At Estella Town Hall recently, Congress Valadao was asked about the Department of Education being eliminated and what was going to happen to special ed. And he didn't address it. He just said, well, we're just cutting out the middleman and they're going to get their funding, but California's probably going to waste it. That didn't answer the question. I've not heard anything about when they dismantle the Department of Education that they're going to keep the funds there and just give them straight to the state. I have not heard that. Let me read you some. Next Saturday, California Teachers Association is having a statewide action in San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Hanford. We have union leaders in this room, Josh Evans from Visalia, Alan Blanchard from Hanford Secondary, who are leading that event. We hope to have thousands of people. We plan to march, but let me read you what the cuts are. In Kings County, we stand to lose, this is based on the 23-24 school year federal funding. We stand to lose $54.3 million in our public schools. $18 million for meals. Now remember, California does provide free meals for everyone, and I have seen a huge change in my classroom when that happened. But we still get money from the federal government, and then the state puts in the rest. So we stand to lose $18 million. About $322,000 for career technical education, auto shop, ag, and career readiness programs, and $13 million for special education. That's in Kings County. Tulare County stands to lose $180 million total dollars, $79 million for school nutrition programs, $1.4 million for career technical education, ag, auto shop, and $43.7 million for special education. That's devastating. And that's going to be staff, because we're the biggest part of the budget of any school. So, many believe that education unions represent teachers, custodians, cafeteria, and our paraprofessionals are what is wrong with education. And I will tell you, I disagree. I'm a proud union member, and I have been a leader at the local, region, and state level. Yeah. The two national unions, the National Education Association, which is what California Teachers Associations are part of, and the American Federation of Teachers, have political power and lobbying power that have stopped numerous bills that would really hurt our kids in schools. We are the front line. We teach these school kids every day. Every day. When I go home, teaching is not a career, it's a lifestyle. It doesn't ever leave you. You go home, those kids are still in your brain. We're taking phone calls. Now with technology, it's hard for parents can text us at any point, and you have to kind of draw the line and say, when would I spend time with my family? But we have a seat at the table because of our lobbying power as union members, and they want us gone. Unions do not protect bad teachers, but do allow for due process before being fired or losing your credential. In California, K-12 teachers do not have tenure. We have permanent status. I believe education and teachers are easy to criticize because most have attended schools. We are not indoctrinating students. We can't get them, I teach middle school. If I could get them to have good hygiene, that's a win some days. But there's so many more problems. Mental health problems. After COVID, they increased. We have kids who are homeless. I have students whose a parent is deployed 6 to 9 months out of the year sometimes. And my school gets a little extra funding to help with those students. I also personally feel that society expects from schools to fix all that is wrong with the community. Education should be our top priority, and it's not often our top priority. We have to fix everything else before we can educate these kids. We feed students 2 to 3 meals a day. Some schools send food staples home on the weekend. We provide counseling and mental health services. Teachers now have care closets and food pantries in their classrooms. And so much more. As local union leaders, we welcome all new teachers to the district and check in with them. We present at board meetings, visit our school sites, listen to member concerns, communicate with the district when our bargaining agreements are violated, and attend trainings in the evenings and the summers to be good leaders. We spend lots of time helping teachers with classroom issues and just listening. My union members in here know what that's like. You spend a lot of time on the phone listening because some teachers are on an island and don't know how to get help. Our principals and administrators are so busy putting out fires that they don't have time to mentor their teachers like they used to. So we spend lots of time doing other jobs that aren't technically our job, and it's getting exhausting, and I worry about who wants to go into this profession. Who wants to be in that classroom and who will last? There's a high percentage, almost 50% of new teachers don't make it 5 years. So next Saturday, we are stepping up for fighting for our public schools. If you could come here to Hanford at the Civic Park at 11 o'clock and march with us down to Congressman Valadeo's office and hear Dolores Huerta and Randy Villegas and other people, we would love you there. And if you're an educator, administrator, paraprofessional, could you raise your hand? Because I know there's a lot of you here in the audience, even retired. Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming today also.